Should edit it. Okay. Good evening, folks. Sorry we're not with you. A short introduction. In about the 4th century BCE, a book in Sanskrit called the Panchachatra was written. It was probably a collection of older stories. In the 5th century CE, Khosrow I of the Sasanian Empire, one of his greatest kings, had it translated into Pahlavi. That empire fell to the Arabs and Islam with the fall of Baghdad. That book was then taken to Spain, where the brother of Alphonso X, also known as El Sabio the Wise, said this should be the very first book you have translated. Well, the school of translation already existed, founded by Alfonso's father, and there were scholars in many languages and from many cultures, Arabs, Jews, Muslims, Christians, already established in Toledo. And so it was that the very first book that was translated from Arabic to Castilian was Khalili al-Dimna, if I've said it right, which is the name of two jackals. It's a book of animal stories, designed so that they didn't insult the king, just like a jester would make a joke and try and tell the truth to the king. This book was part of a series called The Mirror to the Princes. It was designed to help kings rule wisely. And in these stories, the king is represented by a lion.
The lion was the king of the jungle. He would go around, he would kill animals and eat them. He would sometimes kill them just for fun. And the other animals in the jungle, well, they really were frightened of the lion and they didn't know what to do. And they collected together and they talked about it. And they said, well, if we drew lots and one animal drew a lot every day and they went to the lion, well, the rest of us would be safe. And this was put to the lion, who agreed. Being presented with a meal every day seemed like a good idea, thought the lion. And so it went on. And one day the lot was drawn by a rabbit. It was quite a cunning rabbit, and he looked about and he thought. And he was very late arriving at the lion, who roared and looked at him and said, "You're late, I want my dinner. Where have you been?" And the rabbit said, "Well, on my way here, I met another lion who claimed that he was the king of the jungle. And I was very frightened and I had to escape." Said the lion. "Another lion claiming he's the king of the jungle? Where is this lion?" "Well, I could show you," said the rabbit, if you wanted to follow me." And the rabbit hopped off, and the lion followed along behind. And then the rabbit stopped at a well, a deep well, where the water was beautifully clear. "He lives down there," said the rabbit. Said the lion, and he peered down the well, saw his own reflection, thought it was another lion, and jumped in and was drowned. The other animals heaved a sigh of relief and congratulated the rabbit on his cunningness.
We hear rapturous applause. The toad and the crab. The toad and the crab lived in a very fine pond. It wasn't a big pond, but it had reeds around the edges where the small fry would be hatching. And the toad caught 2 fishes a day and ate them. This toad was an unusual toad. And the crab did the same. But time moved on, and the number of fish in the pond gradually went down, as you would expect, as there were 4 fish a day being eaten by somebody else. And the toad grew old. And crab, his best friend, said, "Well, toad, you're getting very thin. Why is that?" He said, "Well, I'm having a job catching the fish." "Oh," crab said, "that's no problem. I've got 2 pets of pincers. I'll catch them for you." Toad thought this was a good idea. But as time went on, it became harder even for crab to catch all the fish they needed. So Toad said, "There's another pond over there, and I'm an amphibian. I can go from one to the other. If you put 2 small fish on my back, I'll hop over there and put them in the pond, and that pond will soon be full of fish, because no one will be eating it." Crab thought this was a good idea, so he worked extra hard and caught 6 fish a day, 4 for eating and 2 for Toad. Toad was doing pretty well out of this and getting quite fat now because he didn't have to catch his fish, thought Crab. But then the day came when Crab said, "I really can't catch any more fish. We'll have to move to the other pond." "OK," said Toad, "hop on my back. It's nice and slimy. You'll be all right up there for a short while. We'll get across to the other pond." "OK," said Crab. With one pincer, he grabbed hold of Toad and hopped on his back, sort of like a cowboy getting on a horse. And off they went. As they got towards the other pond, Crab looked around and saw lots and lots of fish bones of small fish. Snap! And that was the end of Toad.
This story actually refers to humans. There were 2 businessmen who were walking on their way through a small wood. And as they walked, they suddenly saw a case under a tree. And they looked inside, and it had 1,000 dinars in it, gold coins. There was no name, there was no one around. Said the cunning man. "If we take each a share of this now, we could bury the rest, and then when we need some money, we could come and find each other and come and share some more." The naive man thought this was a very good idea. So they each took some of the dinars, and then they buried the case under this beautiful old hollow tree that they knew they could recognise. And then they went their separate ways. But the next day, the cunning man came back, and he took the case, and he took all the dinars, just left it as it looking as it had been. Well, a month or so went past, and the naive man began to think he really could manage with a little more money. And so he went to find his friend and said, "I need a bit more cash. Do you think we could go back to the tree and share some more money from the case that we found?" "Well, yes," said the cunning man, "that's a good idea." And so they went back, and there was the tree, and they dug, but there was no case to be found. The cunning man looked at him and said, "You stole it! You stole it! No one else knew where it was. It must be you that has stolen it." And the naive man stood there saying, "It wasn't me. I am honest. I am trustworthy. It certainly wasn't me." "Yes, it was," said the cunning man. "I am taking you to court." And so he took the naive man to court and explained the situation to the judge. The judge looked at the 2 men, looked them up and down, listened to their story, and said, "Do you have any evidence for this?" "Well, yes, said the cunning man. "We could ask the tree." "Ask the tree?" said the judge. "Well, yes, the tree witnessed it all. He would give us evidence." The judge was intrigued. He'd never heard of that before. But he was so intrigued, he said that the court would go to the tree. Meanwhile, the cunning man had suggested to his father that he should go, hide in the tree, and answer any questions that the judge asked. So there was the judge looking at this tree, and said to the tree, "Did you see these 2 men come and bury a case of money?" "I did," said the tree. "And did you see this man," pointing to the naive man, "come and take the money?" "I did," said the tree. The judge was flabbergasted. He'd never heard of a tree talking like this. How could a tree talk? "Burn it down," he said. And at that point, the father of the cunning man screamed and rushed from behind the tree, and the whole plot was discovered. The judge declared the naive man innocent, the cunning man guilty, and he was made to repay all of the dinars.
These stories have been translated into 50 languages and are available in over 100 countries. They're still available now. The book has almost never been out of print, has many different names in many different countries, and some of the languages it's been translated into are now dead languages, like Latin. Thank you very much. We hope to see you at 9:30, but we may not. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Edit it as you like, Jill.